How dare you?
Pretty catchy, that tune, right? Welcome back, everyone. And yes, a little chill out before we go live today on the main show. So don't be expecting anything too serious here. We are getting into some good, fun, and Scottish woo. Yes, indeed. So who have we got in the chat room? Yes, we have got King Sweet in there. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Saint Marionette in there. Old Ritz, First Paranormal. We have got Scowling Wolf, Nothing As It Seems. Scrolling on up, Trent, and I'm sure there'll be more coming in. We've got Tori just coming in there. And Jason, yes, you'll probably enjoy some of today's content. I am going full woo, brother, and I'll be opening up the phones in hour number 2 on the Kev Baker Show. And I want to hear you, your ghost stories, maybe something from your local area. Me being in Scotland, I don't have to look too far for weird paranormal type stories. I want to hear what it's like where you live. So maybe people down in Australia, they can call in with their Australian woo. Maybe we'll get some bunyip stories. People are going, what the heck is the bunyip? Well, if you haven't seen the bunyip, you haven't been watching this show long enough. I'll show you the bunyip before we go away today. And yeah, I want to take it really away from everything serious going on in the world right now. There's enough of that doing the rounds. And we'll get into what we're best at here, the woo. Yes, indeed. St. Marionette says, am I cold? No, I was actually just doing stuff with out the back, taking bins out. But no, not cold. And that is obviously not a real fire in the background. It's still quite warm here. Wasn't quite as nice today as it has been. But yeah, definitely still nice. Lewis, messing with the ghost radar? Is there such a thing as a ghost radar? I need to get one. If any guy needs a ghost radar, definitely me, right? I would think so. But yeah, we're just going to chill out. And like I say, in just over an hour from now, I'll be going live on TFR Live and here on YouTube, on the TFR YouTube channel. I'll drop a link to that before we go away today. And yeah, like I say, an interesting story I came across about something going on in Scotland. It refers to something that we have spoke about with Ben Emlyn Jones before. And this was actually a story I'd never heard of until Ben came on the show and told me about it. So this is going to be good to get into. It doesn't involve the Loch Ness Monster for once. It involves something else. Another sinister type entity that roams around the Scottish glens and hillsides. So we'll be getting into that in a moment. Robin is in there. Jose Ramon Francis. Great to see you all. And there's something quite cute or cozy about this backup channel here. We don't get the numbers that we used to get over on the main channel, but I do like it over here. It's quality over quantity for me every day. And I know the people in the Discord server, you know, they probably wonder, what the heck's Kev up to half the time? Well, I thought I'll just come live before the show today. We'll get back into some of our woo. So we'll get into it right now, shall we? Anne's on her way home. I've got soup cooking in the kitchen. It smells delightful. It's one of those like pans of soup where I had to walk away from it or I might have finished half of it before anyone else got any. I know you shouldn't brag about your own cooking, but Mr. Doubtfire here, that's one good thing about the whole lockdown mode. I think my cooking skills are slightly on the increase, maybe. Probably need to ask Anne about that, but we'll say no more, right? Because I don't think Anne would agree with me. But anyway, let's get back into this and let's get into some Scottish woo. So it says here, terror on a Scottish mountain, a sinister entity, and it comes from our good friend Nick Redfern. I'm still waiting to hear back from Nick. I really hope he agrees to come on the show again. It's been far too long since I've hung out with Nick Redfern. And when we had him on last time, myself and Scotty and Johnny Whistles, it was just absolutely off the charts crazy good. So I hope, fingers crossed, and I'm going to keep on sending emails, try and try again. And I know last time when we did have him on, some people, I'm the same. I'm the same as Nick. It can be terrible to get a hold of me on email sometimes. So I get it. So leave it with me. I really want to get him on because he's got his new book out as well about Rendlesham. And that's something that we've talked about on the Kev Baker show many, many times. Okay. So let's see what it says here. A couple of days ago, I wrote an article here at Mysterious Universe titled Inexplicable Panic when encountering strange creatures. Now, one of those creatures was the big grey man of Ben Macdui, a strange phenomenon that has been incorrectly referred to by many as the British Bigfoot. It's not, and it never has been. Yes, there is a mystery to be solved. There's little doubt of that. But the equivalent of the Bigfoot of the United States? Not a chance. With that in mind, I thought I would expand on what we know about the big grey man and, more importantly, what the witnesses said of their encounters with the BGM. We'll call it the BGM from now on, right? Andy Roberts, a noted expert on the BGM. I love it. I love it. Would people describe me as a noted expert on the Loch Ness Monster? Because if they would, that terrifies me. It really does. Maybe we should have like a university of woo, where you could literally go and become qualified in specific subjects of the woo. You could maybe write a thesis on where the Bigfoot comes from, that kind of thing, right? But it says here, in 1791, poet James Hogg, known as Ettrick Shepherd, described seeing a huge figure on Ben Macdui, and whilst tending his sheep. Now, as he watched the halo which had formed around him due to the combination of sunshine and mist, he suddenly noticed a huge looming figure. It was vaguely human in shape, and he imagined it to be the devil. You knew I was going to. I know I spoil these good stories with my sound effects, right? But it says Hogg fled in terror, not stopping until he reached fellow shepherds. Then the next day, he saw the same figure under similar climatic conditions. So, Ben Macdui, you've got this big mountain, and it's a Munro, I would imagine, probably. Let's have a look. Let's get it here so we can actually look at where we're talking about here. Copy, we'll bring that up on the map. There we go. Map. So Ben Macdui, there it is there. We scroll out. Yeah, it's in the Cairngorms. So if you think of it this way, folks, up here is your Inverness, okay? That's where I'm from. Well, that's where I was born. Fort Augustus here is where I was from. Make sure you can see that on the map. I'll blow it up a little bit. But yeah, so you got Fort Augustus over here, and this is Loch Ness. So just in the mountains over to the southeast, that's the Cairngorms. You're talking about something 4,295 foot high. So that makes it a Munro. I think it's over 3,000 foot. It becomes a Munro. And that's just to give you a general idea of what it's like there. I mean, you can see the image there. I mean, pretty barren. pretty rugged, right? And yeah, you could probably tell at one point, maybe even now, sheep there. So you've got this report back in 1791. This guy sees something not once, but by the sounds of it, multiple times. And Hogg himself said it was at least 30 feet and equally proportioned and very near me. I was actually struck powerless with astonishment and terror. My first resolution was, if I could keep the power of my limbs, to run home and hide myself below the blankets with the Bible beneath my head. Now, think of that there, 30 feet, right? High and equally proportioned. Now, the only time I can think of anything even coming into that ballpark would be the conversations that we've often had with our good friend Joe Joseph, right? And the Nephilim. Now, I'm not saying there's a Nephilim charging about a couple hundred years ago in the Cairngorms in Scotland, but I am telling you, there must have been something pretty weird going on there, right? 1791 as well. I mean, would you not be regarded as probably highly, highly off your head back then to start saying you'd seen 30-foot creatures, entities? Because anything beyond 8 foot for me, you can stop calling that human at that point, right? As somebody that's like knee high to a grasshopper, anyone over 8 foot, it's just beyond the ballpark of humans at that point, right? So it goes on to say, moving on, the Cairngorm Journal for 1921 noted that the eye-opening contents of a then recent letter sent to the Aberdeen Free Press, in which the writer, it says, quote, called the attention to a myth prevalent in Upper Deeside to the effect that a big spectral figure has been seen at various times during the past 5 years walking about on the tops of the Cairngorms. When approached, the story goes, the figure disappears. Moreover, it's got a name. Furley More to Wit. Goes on to say that Professor Norman Colley's 1891 encounter is worth noting. The account from Colley that appeared in the Press and Journal, that's still a paper, you know, my mum still gets that today, and in the pages of the Cairngorm Club Journal, runs as follows. It makes for undeniable, there she is, she's home, our essential worker. Give you a round of applause, Anne. You're an essential worker, you know, has to be done. So then, it makes for undeniable atmospheric reading, regardless of how one personally interprets the many and varied complexities present in both the BGM, the Big Grey Man legend, and Coley's own telling of his experience. I was returning from the cairn on the summit in a mist when I began to think I heard something else other than merely the noise of my own footsteps. For every few steps I took, I heard a crunch, and then another crunch as if somebody or someone was walking after me, but taking steps 3 or 4 times the length of my own. I said to myself, this is all nonsense. I listened and heard it again, but could not see nothing in the mist. Now, as I walked on, and the eerie crunch, crunch sounded behind me, I was seized with terror and took to my heels, staggering blindly among the boulders for 4 or 5 miles down to Rothiemurchus Forest. Now, whatever you make of it, I do not know, but there is something very queer about the top of Ben Macdui, and I will not go back there by myself, I know. Now, when it comes to mountains, I've said this before, mountains are pretty weird. And if you go to the Native Americans, comes to mind straight away, they regarded mountains as like natural stargates, where people from the sky or other places would come and go. I've often wondered, and it's just me thinking aloud, I don't know, you know, but when you've got all that rock, all that stone, you know, you've got friction, that builds up piezoelectricity. I don't know. Does that enable something? Is it the quartz? Is it the crystal? I don't know. It's very much worth kind of considering, though. And even Skinwalker Ranch, that we've been talking about a heck of a lot lately, you can see how on the ridge, the rocky ridge, that is very active with something. Beams of light either coming out of it or into it, glowing luminous at times. And it seems to be this boundary, this thinning of the veil between this world and however many other worlds are out there. So yeah, am I open to the mountain thing? Absolutely. Himalayas, you've got the Yeti, right? You know, very mountainous in parts of the US as well. Lots of woo there. Lots of people disappearing. And on that note, when we go into the main show tonight, got a really interesting story about how the veil does tend to thin more in these mountainous and forested type areas. You gotta open your mind to enjoy the woo. Doesn't mean you believe all of it. I'm not asking you to. I provide, you decide. And how many times have we discovered that, you know, facts really are stranger than fiction? What makes the woo so good? So we get back to it here, and it says the Scots. I'll tell you what else is interesting about up here, right? D-side it mentioned there. That's where the royal family go and stay when they come up to Scotland and pretend to be Scottish with their kilts on and their tartan. They're no more Scottish than Alex Jones. Do you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Rod Stewart, he wears tartan as well. We're meant to think he's Scottish. It's crazy the amount of people who think they're Scottish. Don't go there, and don't go there. And thinks that he's Scottish. Rod Stewart fan over there, all because of Celtic. But anyway, I get back to it, okay? It says here, the Scots magazine reported on the story of one Alexander Tunoing. It doesn't sound like he's got a Scottish name, I'm telling you, who had his own experience with the BGM phenomenon back in the Second World War, specifically in 1943. Now, he told the magazine, in the form of a letter, quote, "Of all the experience that have come my way, one stands out above all others in its strangeness. This was when I shot the Fear Lathmore, this was when I shot the Fear Lathmore, the big grey man of Ben Macdui. It happened like this. In October 1943, I spent a 10-day leave climbing alone in the Cairngorms. Rations were short then, and I carried a revolver and ammunition to shoot any hares and ptarmigan that came my way. Oh, those were simpler times, eh? I tell you, if you got caught up the Cairngorms with any of that kind of kit and caboodle on you nowadays, you'd be going away for a long time. So it says here, one afternoon, just as I reached the summit cairn. Now, a cairn's just a pile of stones. That's basically what we call a pile of stones in Scotland, of Ben Macdui. And then we've got the mist swirled across the Lairg Grew. Even I don't know how to pronounce these names. And enveloped the mountain. Now the atmosphere became dark and oppressive. A fierce, bitter wind whisked among the boulders, and fearing a storm was imminent, I took hurriedly to the Corrie Etchakin path. Wow! And I'm from up that way, and I can't even get that. I think Aiken? Etchakin? I don't know. Some place up in the Cairngorms anyway. The paths angle easily downhill. It's no wonder they put subtitles on Scottish people, isn't it? I was swinging along at about 5 miles an hour when an odd sound echoed through the mist. A loud footstep, it seemed, then another and another, spaced at long intervals. Now, before I go on and scroll down, remember what the first guy said? The mist, almost swirling around, opening up out the mist. You had the guy. Interesting. Is it mist? Or is that the fabric of space and time starting to tear open and you've got a portal? I don't know. Is that what a vortex looks like? The story continued. I'm not unduly imaginative, but my thoughts flashed instantly to the well-known story of Professor Norman Colley and the fear Lathmore. Then I felt the reassuring weight of the loaded revolver in my pocket. Grasping the butt, I peered about in the mist, here rent and tattered by eddies of wind. Now a strange shape loomed up, receded, and came charging at me. So without hesitation, I whipped out the revolver and fired 3 times at the figure. Bang, bang, bang. Now when it still came on, I turned and hurried down the path, reaching Glenderry in a time I have never bettered since. Now you may ask, was it really fear Lathmore? Frankly, I think it was. Many times since then I have traversed Macdui and mist, bivouacked on it in the open, camped near its summit for days on end on different occasions, often alone and always with an easy mind. For on that day I am convinced I shot the only fear Lathmore my imagination will ever see. That's very reminiscent of the big dog wolf type entity that you hear about at Skinwalker, right? It took like multiple rounds and kept going. And then when it did kind of trundle off, it just disappeared. And then if you're watching Skinwalker just now, the newest episode, oh my, definitely some weird stuff going on there. Is it the same thing? And again, this is a man type thing, but do they all come from the same place? Are we talking about similar energies that shapeshift and morph into different things? I don't know. Pretty weird woo though, right? So it says these are just a few of the many reports of encounters with the big grey man. And you will recall that the BMG was described as being 30 feet high and spectral. Clearly, this is not an equivalent of the American Bigfoot or the Yeti of the Himalayas. We're dealing with something that is far more mysterious, and for those of us who have encountered the thing, far more terrifying too. The final words go to the writers of the Spooky Isles website. More down-to-earth speculation centres upon the meteorological phenomenon known as brocken spectre, a rare event during which a spectator can see their own elongated shadow cast against the clouds, mist, or fog, sometimes accompanied by a rainbow-like halo known as a glory. While the brocken spectre theory goes some way to explaining the long-legged long-legged tall grey figures that have been sighted, it doesn't tackle the other aspects of the reports, such as the weird, disembodied footsteps and the strange emotions. Da, da, da. So there you go, a brocken spectre indeed. Never heard of the brocken spectre before. Sounds like a really fine, rare soup or something. Well, what's your soup of the day? Well, we've got some fine brocken spectre on the go, sir. I'll have a bowl of that, please. What do you think, Anne? It sounds like a doctor's instrument, according to Anne. What kind of doctor do you go to? Wait till I get the brocken spectre out, Anne. It'll hurt you more than it hurts me, honestly. Eh? Whoa, that's not the doctor, Anne. It's a whole different thing altogether. Whoa. It's all coming out now, folks, eh? So, yeah, indeed. There we go. And the brocken spectre, if I bring that back up here. Where are we? Where are we? There we are. It says here. Snowdon captures, or Snowdon Walker, now that's Wales, captures rare brocken spectre. Look at that. Now, this is pretty interesting because this could explain some of the phenomenon that we see people capturing, right? Holy schmoly. That looks like the big man, right? Looks like something kind of religious going on there. It's known as a brocken spectre. Wow. Well done, Reese. Well done, Reese Fleming. Well captured, that man. Pretty interesting. So Walker has captured images of a rare phenomenon called a brocken spectre on New Year's Day. When is this story from? 3rd of July this year. This must be a new thing. Right, hang on. Chat room, tunes on. Hang on, let's get some tunes on. Wait a minute. Tunes on. I want number one in the chat room if you've ever heard of a brocken spectre before. Or number two, if this is something completely new. One, brocken spectre. Two, completely new. It's completely new where I come from. Tell me, what do you think, brocken spectre? Number one, you've heard of it. Number two, completely new. And don't worry about it, folks. I know this music wants you to sing along, right? It's like... I know, go for it. Nobody will care. It's lockdown mode. Do it. Lots of number twos. It's all new to the KBSers. Same here, fellas. And Vanya, Jose Ramon. They just make words up. It sometimes feels like that. Hey, listen, if Rhesus Christ is telling us that that's definitely new, then honestly, war, buddy. So great to see you there. And yeah, if you did get a brocken spectre up where the sun don't shine, that would be a broken Billy Joe's on the twos as well. It's looking like a consensus. Jason, have you ever heard of a weather phenomenon called broken spectre? Not broken sphincter, broken spectre. One if you have, two if it's new. ZX is hitting 2 as well. We've got Just a Guy, he's on 2. Yep, it's pretty resounding. Like me and Anne, you've never ever heard of a broken spectre or a broken sphincter. Talking about mountains for a little moment, it was getting a bit broke back in here, but not anymore. No, so that's something completely different. Yes, I like to be a little bit risky, Anne. A little bit risky. Never heard of that in my life before, folks. Never, ever. And, I mean, it's a pretty phenomenal image the boy's caught, right? But now, how many times can you think of in the past we've seen stories, hang on, Express Jesus in the Sky. Right, now that one's not so good, but if we go to stories... hang on, if we just go to the Express, there we go. We'll go to Weird. We'll do it live, ladies and gentlemen. We'll do it live. There we go. We got Weird. Well, that's almost it, but this is the type of place you find these stories. What you see today, there'll be absolutely none of them. It's going to prove me wrong, folks. It's going to prove me wrong. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, it's done it. No, I'm sure I've seen a story about that not long ago on there. Maybe it was the Metro. Hang on. Religious figure in the sky. news. Did I see one bite? Here we go, the sun. That was last year. Is this? Nah, that's not it. That's not one. We'll go to images. I bet we'll see one. It's proving me wrong. Well, I know what we'll look for. The broken spectre. There we go. That's pretty crazy. Look at that one. You can almost see the legs coming up from the ground, like from the point of where the picture's taken. Pretty weird. Pretty weird, right? Dang, if you went and done that and posted it, that would get you some pretty good clickbait right there. Did look, religious deity appears in the sky. That would get some, oh, that's lots of clicks right there. But again, I've never ever heard of that before in my puff. I haven't. It's a totally new one on me. But it's not the only woo I have got for today. No, no, no. I don't roll like that. Hang on. Where are we? Now, I said there wasn't going to be any Loch Ness today. And I was right. There isn't. But what if I told you Nessie isn't our only kind of water-born cryptid / creature / shape-shifting kelpie? Because we all know my firm favourite theory on Loch Ness Monster is the shape-shifting kelpie. But here, Scottish lake monsters that don't live in Loch Ness. This is really quick. It's really kind of short. So we'll get through this. I'll come into the chat room. We'll have a little laugh. Because that's what we do here on our little coffee. Anne's made me coffee. What a star she is. We're getting ready for the main woo of the show tonight. I've got a couple of stories pulled up to get into, but really I'm going to be relying on all of you out there. And that doesn't mean I'm putting it on you. I just know now. I used to be 50-50 whether the phones would produce the kind of quality that we need to keep the audience interested and to make it an even better show than we've got. And I used to be 50-50 on that. But time and time again, you have proven that I really, really should have never had anything to worry about. So we're opening up the phones again today. So I've maybe got about half an hour, 45 minutes worth of stuff we can get into. Dead light, dead laid back. No arguing, no divisive stuff. Just opening the mind, get the imagination going, and some good, light-hearted, fun woo. But is it really fun for those that experience the woo firsthand? Was it fun for the guy on the top of Ben Macdui when he came face to face with potentially a 30-foot Nephilim? Yes, indeed. Makes you wonder, right? Mention the words monsters in Scotland and most people will immediately think of Nicola Sturgeon. I mean the Loch Ness Monster.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, Greta. I'm sorry. Greta, honestly, you compared to Nicola Sturgeon, Greta, you are like, you could be the most amazing person in the universe compared to Norman. I mean, Nicola. I mean the Loch Ness Monster known as Nessie. I digress. It's a far less known fact, however. The unknown creatures have been reported in other Scottish lochs for a very long time. So we'll begin with Loch fished it many's a time. Callie Cruiser's note, Loch is a freshwater loch which forms part of the Caledonian Canal, of which it is the highest point. Just over 100 feet above sea level, this narrow loch lies between Loch Ness in the northeast and Loch Lochy in the southwest in the Great Glen. It is fed by the River Garry from the Loch Garry, and I used to play for Invergarry, a game called Shinty. It's totally irrelevant to the story, and it feeds the River Oich from its north end. Now the Lagan Lochs separate it from Loch Lochy, and a well-marked buoyed channel guides boats traffic safely through Loch Oich, and Loch Oich is rich in wildlife, with a wide variety of fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And let's see what we know about Loch's resident things. Now, I had no idea, and I still have no idea right now, of what the heck lies beneath the surface of Loch. But talking of fish and wildlife, on Sunday, I invite you to take the bait, swallow the hook, and come fishing with KBS. I have got the most amazingly funny fishing game that we're going to be playing here on Sunday when we chill out and we have our Sunday stream live. We'll get back into some good Sunday streaming. It's going to be real fun. But we're going to be able to talk about the woo. We'll listen to some woo as we're fishing. And of course, I'll provide you with lots of commentary and lots of comedy along the way. So part of me wants to look here to see what's in Loch, but then part of me thinks, dang, the times I would spend maybe fishing up there when I was younger, if I had known there might have been some kind of beastie or some creature in the Loch, would I have been so quick to go there? I don't know. So Nessie Authority, Roland Watson says, and again, does he go to the same university as the other chap that was the expert in Ben Macdui? I'm just saying. The first claimed mention of a creature in Loch is by the famous cryptozoologist A.C. Oudemans in 1934, which he relates to the tale of the children's pool. This was a tale of children who saw a creature like a deformed pony appear beside a deep pool of the River Garry, which feeds into Loch. The children mounted the docile beast, which then flew and plunged into the pool with the children to their doom. Now, the story is believed to be from at least 1894, and though strictly this is perhaps more of a river kelpie than a loch inhabiting, each usage is still worth the mention. Now, it's got that there in capital letters. I take it that's the name of this. Each used. What a name. No wonder it didn't catch on. It just doesn't have the same kind of ring as Nessie or the Loch Ness monster. Each used. Nah, I'm not buying it. It's still worth a mention. So, well, I don't know. Peter Costello, who related the Oudemans reference in his book In the Search of Lake Monsters, felt that Oudemans took the story a bit too seriously, and I would agree with him, as children riding to their doom was a common motif in the water horse genre across various lochs in the Highlands, as related in the book The Water Horses of Loch Ness. Now, nevertheless, it does suggest an oral tradition of an each used in and around Loch before modern times. Can we just call it a beastie? I ain't calling it each used every time we get to it. But I think I need to get that book, right? Like that one there, The Water Horses of Loch Ness. I've got a family story I've told before where they were cycling to work, and it was the most bizarre thing, because it was either like a horse type entity, it almost had a hump on it, a bit camely, and then a dude sitting on its back. And the dude was described as being like a Native American, like having big headdress on and things, wandering down the hill. And get this, do you know what kind of morning it was? It was misty. Ooh, some bit of the mist in Scotland, eh? Scotch mist, indeed. So if we go on here, it says now, how about we focus our attention on Lochy and its resident beastie, Lizzie? Now, intriguing data can be found at the official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register. Like many other Scottish lochs, Lochy has a history of monster sightings. Located just down the Great Glen from Loch Ness, you see how I really am from ground zero of the woo. The Great Glen, if we come back to the kind of map here. This is it here. You imagine that bit of Scotland, like Inverness, right to here. That's like carved out of mountains. It's like a big valley, you know? It's almost like two plates. There's no, thankfully, it's not like some active plate or something, but But that's kind of what it is. And you've got this kind of Loch Ness and all the woo that's tied here. And remember, you've got like Culloden. There's Culloden there. That's where the battlefield was, I sometimes reference. And that's really near to like Clava Cairns, which is here. So you've got Culloden battlefield there. You've got the cairns about here. You've got all this going on here. You've got these lochs all up here. It's a crazy little place, right? So we'll go back to the story. There it is. So, like many other Scottish lochs, we've done that. Great Glen. That's why I went to look at that. So, in many ways, it is a better location for monster spotting, as there is better access to the shores of the loch. Now, other than a more recent undated sighting by the proprietors and guests of the Corrigower Lodge Hotel within the past 10 years, there has been no real reported activity of late. But this is probably because most people looking for monsters drive right past on their way to Loch Ness. Now, there's the following too, which adds notable data to the saga of Lizzie. Now, I must admit, I'm not saying that locals didn't speak about or know about Lizzie, but for me personally, this is kind of news. But in recent times, I've heard about these other monsters, right? So it's not like when I was younger, oh, come on, we'll go up to Loch Lochy and we'll see if we can find Lizzie. And that conversation never happened, you know? So it says, there are the following two. Yeah, here we go. In 1960, while staying in a caravan at Glen Fintaig, Eric Robinson, his family, and 9 other witnesses spotted what looked to be a standing wave in the centre of the loch. Now, much to everyone's amazement, Mr. Robinson claimed that the wave was actually a moving creature. Viewing the animal through his binoculars, Robinson estimated that the animal was between 30 and 40 feet in length, and with a dark spine and a paler underbelly. Robinson and the other witnesses claimed that the creature began to roll in the water, exposing a huge flipper before disappearing into the loch. And at just over 11.5 miles in length, Loch Morar has the distinction of being the deepest body of fresh water in the British Isles, with a depth of just over 1,000 feet. Now, unlike Loch Ness, the water of which is almost black, Loch Morar can boast having practically clear water. It takes its name from the village of Morar, which is situated close by, and specifically at the western side of the loch, and which was the site of the Battle of Morar, a violent, death-filled confrontation between the Mackenzie and the MacDonald clans. Now, a significant number of sightings of unidentified animals have been made at Loch Morar, and they have become known as Morrigs. And if you come down here, one of the earliest reports comes from a man named James MacDonald, good Scottish name, who claimed a sighting of a 3-humped creature snaking through the waters late one cold, dark night in January 1887. Now, rather ominously, superstitious locals perceived this as a distinctly ill omen, and the 3 sections were seen as death, a coffin, and a grave. Such was the fear of the villagers had the monster in their midst. Shows you how, in different times, different phenomena will cause a different reaction in the people. You know, I'd imagine back at that time, more staunchly kind of pious, religious people, and anything, any kind of creature, anything ungodly, you know, would be from the devil. So yeah, I can imagine how that came about. And bear in mind as well, we're in a time period here, and we're in the same location as where Aleister Crowley selected to go and do his magic. I think it's maybe not emphasised enough how Aleister Crowley could have chose anywhere in the world. He was a man of, he had means, he had money. I'm not saying he was like a a Rockefeller or a Carnegie or something, but he could have gone places, you know. He bought that land up there. And it's only more in recent times I wonder how significant the area was to him choosing it, as opposed to him making the area famous. What was it that a magician seen in the area to invite him there in the first place? And when you start hearing about all these stories about cryptids and beasties and 30-foot men walking on top of hills and thinning of the veil, maybe we're starting to see it. And those rocks, those mountains, right? The Great Glen, they're not mountains, they're hills on either side. It would be a stretch to call them mountains. But the rock again, is it that rubbing of the rock? Does that create something? Is it the quartz and the stone? Is that what creates it? I don't know, but there's something going on there, something woo. So if we come back over and just finish this off before we reset and get ready for the main show today. Let's see. Where were we? Yeah, there we were. Rather ominously, okay, we had that bit. 8 years later, Sir Theodore Brinkman and his wife were fishing at the loch when a long thing shaped like an upturned boat surfaced from the depths. "It'll just be the monster," said one of the locals, a man named McLaren. An astonishing sighting occurred in 1948 when a man named Alexander MacDonald sighted one of the morags actually on the bank of the shore at Braccorina Point. Yeah, Braccorina Point. It was in a few moments it practically belly flopped back into the water and vanished. Now it was a beast described as the size of an elephant. Loch Arkaig has also been the place of interest of those interested in accounts of lake monsters in Scotland, and unknown explorers says located in Lochaber, Scotland, Loch Arkaig lies 140 feet above sea level, stretches 12 miles in length, and has a maximum depth of roughly 300 feet. So Loch Arkaig is situated between Loch Ness and Loch Morar and is the reputed home of the Loch Arkaig monster. Now, eyewitnesses or eyewitness descriptions of the creature suggest that it has a long neck, a wide body, and 4 flippers, a description which resembles sightings of the Loch Ness monster. What all this tells us is that if you want to try and see a Scottish lake monster, you don't have to go to Loch Ness. There are a number of bodies of water that are home to strange and even sinister creatures. And if you want to see a Scottish monster, you can also come to Kev's YouTube channel. Boom, boom.
How dare you!
I know, Greta, I shouldn't be so hard on myself, but I keep you in a drawer under the desk, so what can I do about it? But I'm going to go and have a drink of my coffee. I'm going to let you ponder what the heck is going on in Scotland with all these sinister, unexplained type entities, beasties, and creatures. Is there something very special about the land I broadcast to you from? It certainly would seem so. And I would certainly say, and I'm quite confident in saying this, I come to you live from Ground Zero of the Woo. Exactly, King. Exactly, King. Nessie lives matter. Don't be a Nessie denier, folks. Don't do it. No, Nessie lives. Nessie lives long. Robin says there's amazing creatures lurking about in Scotland, and that's just Edinburgh on a Friday night. I said that, but... Algo, it's great to see you, Algo. Robin, Baby Yoda, Connie, Adrian, Billy Joe the Wookiee, Cassie. Let's see. Nothing as it seems. What else we got kicking about in here? Lisa Roo. Great to see you, Lisa. I am loving the new profile pic there. It's really wee, it's really small. I can see it. But, yes, Armand. Is that you in there, Armand? I think it might be. I'm not sure. Not sure. You're rocking the same beard as Armand anyway. But Baby Yoda. Yep. Bring in the woo, says King Sweet. Yes. Algo. We love Nessie in the US. Have nothing like it here. What about Champ? What about Lake Champlain? Or is that in Canada? I'm sure Champ is in... I'm sure it's up near the Canadian border, New York State, up that way. Champ, man. Yeah, Baby Yoda saying Champ, dude. Don't take your champ down. I have lost the plot, by the way. If you hadn't gathered already, it's not just the hair that's out of control. It's like affecting my neural pathways as well. I haven't got the neural link, not yet, folks. Elon says it's coming soon. I will be the first to try it out for all of you, because that's how I roll. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. Feel free to clip that and tell people I am going to get laced or whatever, linked. What do you call it? I'm getting linked in, man. That's what it'll be, in it. I'm going to get linked in, get hooked. Whoa, she's got a head. She wasn't the headless lady. Well, must seen you, Anne. Well, must seen you. And she's got these, what do you call them? Buds in her ears. Yeah. And, yes, Nacy in the chat room. He goes by the name of Resolution. That was me that blanked that out because I don't want to trigger nothing. Very nice to the algorithm over here. We've got Tinfoil Capco. Now, if that's the Tinfoil Cap dude that messaged me on Facebook, somebody told me about it. Myself and Anne, we both kind of man the Facebook. Your hats are pretty cool, dude. Or dudette, depending on, you know, whatever kind of way you identify. Hey, I'm easy either way. But, yeah, check out Tinfoil Cap. Literally Tinfoil Caps. We had somebody in here one day saying, Kev, what if that's like the ultimate? What if it's like the ultimate double bluff? What if they make fun of the tinfoil hat because we need the tinfoil hat? Well, if that's what you think, go check that out. There you go, and I don't get paid a penny for it. I just know somebody out there that's trying to, you know, carve a little living for themselves, and I think it's a pretty novel idea, the tinfoil hat. Love it. So, folks, I'm going to be back not long from now. I'm going to be over on the TFR Live YouTube channel. Let me get you that link right now before I go. It's really great to see how you all have jumped over there and back into the TFR chat room as well. Really, 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 thank you so much. It really was taking a lot away from TFR, and I understand, you know, I'd said for a couple of times would probably, you know, have to change in the future, but I want to thank all of you for being highly adaptable, you know, highly kind of flexible and going with it as well. So if I bring this up here, and I'll show you how to do it. It's dead easy. Boom. So you just try pull up TFR Live. There it is there.
Past years about.
In fact, I better get subbed. It's the backup channel. That's why I wasn't subbed, folks, before you start saying anything. Yes, and there's the show that's on before me. Let's see.
Even when we're tanking and you see supply chains.
There we go, supply chains. I know what that's about to get into and things. We ain't going there today. So, folks, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for continuing to support the show. It really, very humbling. And again, Leslie, Lisa, Russell, so many people. I'm probably going to have to write down a full list so I don't leave anyone out. But honestly, Peter, another one that springs to mind there. Nancy. Billy, so many people. So again, if I've missed anyone out there, and I know I have, Karen, I've missed so many out, to be honest with you, but it's just so you know, I really, really, you don't know how much it keeps things going here, and I thank you all profusely. I don't make a big thing about asking for it because we're all going through big changes right now, right? But for those of you who have, from me, Anne and Kevin, thank you so much, honestly. And I can't ever give you value for money, but I'll keep coming back and I'll try my hardest to keep you infotained through the apocalypse, through the woo. And yes, talking of woo, I'll be back real soon on tfrlive.com and TFR YouTube channel. It's dropped it in the chat room. Tinfoil cap, I will get back to you after today's show. I promise you. If not tomorrow, definitely. I think there was it the Leak Project? I think you're kind of in touch with the Leak Project. So yeah, I'll definitely get in touch with you. And if I don't get in touch with you tonight, definitely tomorrow. Okay? I'm out of here, folks. I'll be back soon, 15 minutes, and I'll be back on KBS Live. Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo. I'll go as well. Not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.